Hello again to all subscribers and listeners of this channel. Today I'd like to speak on nostalgia and how nostalgia is being used for a lot of profit gains in the film and entertainment industry. We hold on to the past. Maybe we hold on to the past a little bit too much and can't move forward into the future effectively, if at all. Here's what I noticed. I noticed more and more with for example, like with the Beauty and the Beast film that's coming out. There seems to be more of a prevalence of Hollywood films being based off of films and cartoons and comics and series that come from mostly our childhood. Now, oddly enough, as much as I love old networks like Cartoon Network, Fox Kids, Nickelodeon, Disney, and other types of cartoon networks from the past, one side of me says that this might have a few bad side effects if we have all these modern forms of entertainment basically just rehashing what was done many decades ago. So let's get to it. Here are some of the bad side effects that I think may come from the lack of originality and the overuse of remakes and reboots in film and entertainment. 1. It ruins the imagination of today's kids, I think. How will today's kids get into original, awesome storytelling if they A. aren't told stories or read stories? Instead, they're shown stories in a dark room where they have to be quiet, sit down, and face forward towards the screen in the same direction as everybody else. They can't really have an interaction with an original story. Instead, they have to basically be drones inside of a movie theater or any other equivalent. B. They seem to not have any characters or original stories that were created in the recent years. Or if they do, I'm not aware of them or what the quality of the production is. Maybe somebody could list it below in the comments. C. They'll be enjoying what I would call the ghost childhood. A childhood where their entertainment comes from what we viewed, but it's just a repackaging of what we grew up with. The same old stuff, but in a shinier new package. Old stuff and new packages ultimately don't measure up to actual originality. Today's kids seem to be missing out on that. Or maybe I'm wrong. 2. Or rather, number 2. Too many film studios today seem like they're going for profit over originality. Why do I say this? A. Originality has the potential to create a much better product when it's good, but it has a much bigger financial risk because most studios don't want to invest in a film or a series if they don't know how well it's going to do in terms of ratings or viewership or whatever. B. Reboots and remakes and other film productions that follow a formula are more predictable, boring, but also less of a risk for film studios to invest in. C. Film producers don't care about our feelings of nostalgia. They care about the easiest and most efficient way to make a profit from a film's production. So if we continue seeing these reboots, going out and watching these remakes and films based off of our childhood, ultimately we're throwing our money away and allowing our emotions to pump up someone else's profits again, like we do too much of in this society. D. When profit is the main goal, or at least more of a goal than storytelling, formulas are going to beat out original storytelling most of the time, it seems. Hence, the giant glut of reboots, remakes, and superhero films. Although some of them are good, most are either so-so or kind of garbage. At least from what I see. Number 3. Because of film studios' decisions, it makes it harder for new artists or original storytellers to get the stories out there. Because they have to pit their more original ideas against the nostalgia-based productions. They're going to have an obvious edge in ratings or in viewership. A. The new ideas no matter how well written, are not as well known. Therefore, they don't have a huge following. And even more still, they don't show a film studio any true reason to invest in it, despite how good they are. B, even worse, if the storyline doesn't follow a well-known story formula, which actually runs the chance of it being a better story, but again, too much of storytelling nowadays is very formulaic, very industrialized, very cookie cutter. C, so it seems many very good, more original stories with characters that are well written, good plot, good setting, etc., and all the other good story elements either will never get produced, never get told, or if they do get publicized in some way, they'll be publicized to a very limited but very loyal audience. Number 4, the resources going into these giant nostalgia productions seem like it will ultimately rob those resources from the people that could have produced something new and more original. A, the cameras, actors, locations, animators, set designers, costumers, directors, etc. can only be in one film production one at a time. B, if there are hundreds of reboots, hundreds of remakes, etc. being produced every year, then more original films either have to compete extra hard against that reboot craze and against other original films that are out there also, if they can't get produced by a studio. C, then those stories can, so that's what I was trying to say. If they can't get produced by a studio, then C, those same stories can get put on screen with the talents of the above mentioned people, which means they never get produced, or they have to go the indie route and become an independent film and put the story out in a much cheaper way that's less dramatic and less bold. But again, it could actually be a silver lining. The indie films, they may not be as big or as much of a attention grabber, but they do seem to, the very good ones at least, tend to get a very small but extremely loyal audience to the very good storytelling, even if it was produced by much cheaper means. It does seem to support that underground realm of film production. That's what it seems to do. So that may be a good part of independent films being produced in that way. So, and number 5, one thing to think about: if this was done too much in the past, we might not have the great shows that we grew up with in our childhoods. And when I say us, I mean the millennial generation, people who are I want to say mid to late 20s, maybe early 30s. A lot of stuff that we like would ever have been produced if producers and studios didn't want to chance any new ideas in the 90s and 80s. Instead, they want to focus on just rehashing what was done in those prior decades. As in, A, where would shows like Hey Arnold or Dexter's Laboratory or Gargoyles or the Rugrats or the Wild Thornberrys be? Where would they be if producers at that time period decided, we won't make anything new, we won't deal with the new stuff, we'll just rehash stuff that was produced in the 1960s and 70s? So the question is, what would the 1980s and 1990s television be like? Just something to think about. In conclusion, robbing the next generation of an identity is ultimately destructive. Each generation should have something that they love that the older generation can't connect with. New artists can't break through. Resources get misused. It's a mostly cheap way of making big profits. And if there are no new stories, we wouldn't have anything to cherish in our own childhoods. There's something healthy about each generation finding their own stories. Something that in our quest to reconnect with our childhood, we might be destroying for the next generation. And that healthy thing is simply connecting with their own generational identity. Remakes, reboots, redos will never connect with their generational identity like original storytelling will. Never. Or maybe I myself am being a little bit too analytical. Maybe I'm overthinking this and showing too much of my own bias for what was produced in my childhood. That's a possibility. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Comment, like, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.